Well, today we've been joined by a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and also a legal practitioner, Adeseye Ogunlewe, to look at this particular former, should I say, the fuel subsidy probe. Good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, first, we'd like to tell us what you think when this all came to the fore.
Well, for the first time, it seems the whole nation got the things very wrong, or not in proper perspectives.
How do you mean the whole nation?
You know, we are talking about supply of commodity. You have excluded the main culprits, which are the public officers. A marketer will not come to your office unless he's invited to supply 30 million liters of petroleum. You gave him the contract. He supplied, whether correctly or incorrectly, you gave him all the documents that he has supplied. In the contract you gave him, you could have told him, if you supply XY, you are entitled to this much. And the process to adopt to take your money is this process. You must obtain this document, you must obtain this document. The marketer obtained all the documents, fraudulently or otherwise. Somebody approved the payment, and the marketer collected the money. Who is guilty? It's the public officer. We have excluded the public officer as if they did not participate in this process. A marketer is a businessman, is a profit person. Whereas the person that has fiduciary responsibility to the nation is the public officer who issued out the contract, who gave him document that he has supplied, who processed the payment, and who paid.
But again, some have argued that even the National Assembly also have a blame in all of this, knowing that they have the oversight function to have nipped this in the bud in the first place.
To have queried the public officer in charge. Because who are these people that paid this money? Who are these people that gave the document that they've supplied as indicated in their contract?
From what you saw on television during that particular live probe, did you see any kind of query from the National Assembly?
The National Assembly got it wrong from the beginning. They should have first of all queried the public officers involved instead of pursuing the marketers. The marketers are businessmen. They don't hold us responsibility. Our major responsibility is for the public officer who is employed for this purpose.
But you know, sorry, but the way they say it takes two to tango,
yes,
the marketer shouldn't. Being a marketer is not a license for you to be corrupt or do some kind of shady dealings.
Who is more corrupt now? The person that gave me document that I have performed what I was expected to perform, processed my payment, got the approval. So what is my own concern?
You know, when we watched that. When we watched the probe, I recall watching the one at the Senate when the Minister for Finance was being questioned, the Minister in charge of Petroleum was questioned, officers of the PPPRA, officers of NNPC, Austin was then, well, they were all questioned, they were all called to answer certain questions. Wasn't that the kind of query that you're expecting to see, or were you expecting like an official query, first of all, before they are called to come and explain certain things?
Yes, if you're a public officer, you have duty to protect the interests of the nation. It is not the marketer that has that duty. So the question they will have asked them, what is your procedure? Who is supposed to approve what and give which document before payment is processed?
But all of these questions were asked.
So who is responsible now? Who is culpable? You are a marketer. They've given you all the documents that you have supplied, and they processed it. Somebody approved the payment, and you are now blaming the marketer.
But if you have unscrupulous marketers, because we also remember watching the debate with, it wasn't really a debate, it was a public presentation, and it was a debate of sorts, when the CBN governor, Lamido Sanusi, was saying something about him getting papers, a host of papers that you know were coming in from the Ministry of Finance for this payment to be made, and a host of them looked very genuine. But he said he did not quite trust that, you know, this was the amount of petrol we were consuming on a daily basis in Nigeria.
What is his own responsibility to protect the nation? How can he be saying that?
Yeah, but
that is when he should have stopped it and queried it, because he has also responsibility to the country.
But it is his duty to verify if something has
And
gone
don't
through.
pay.
If something has gone through a fellow sister agency and they've done their job as they should, or you think that they have, and you say, are you sure about this? And they say yes. What is your own? And then to pay, do the payments as you should.
No, that is not management. You can cross-check. You can say, okay, give me some 2 hours to pay you. And then you pick up the phone. You also have a system to check whether those things were properly done.
But
you
that's
are also culpable.
But that's why they say they have to double check. So if the first check if the first check has been beaten, let's say the CBN on some other others that should have done that. What about the National Assembly? You were a member of the National Assembly. Maybe you should perhaps tell us more on how they go about their oversight functions. If they had done the needful, don't you think we wouldn't have been here?
The only person they will have had contact with are the public officers, which probably they did not do. If they have gone to the proper agency to ask questions, it's the person on the seat that is culpable that must ask questions, answer questions, not the marketer, because the National Assembly will probably not know the marketer. But which procedure must you follow before you pay this marketer?
Are you saying the marketers shouldn't have been called at all?
First, it is the public officer that should have been queried first.
But they were queried. We saw all of
Okay,
that
which
on
of
television.
them have they published, have been culpable? Is the
Should-
marketers alone that have been published have been culpable? What about the public officers?
But again, you remember everyone has been on this particular, or rather most Nigerians have been complaining about that particular report from the House committee looking into the fuel subsidy, and they said, well, the government should, as a matter of urgency, implement all of that. And they also talked about public officers in that document.
Which one?
Well, leading up to that particular one, leading up to that particular recommendation, what would you now say, knowing full well that, well, all of these had been enmeshed in some kind of bribery scandal?
Before the bribery scandal, I pity any legal practitioner that is going to court to prosecute the marketers. Because you have no basis, or your bases are very limited.
Is that what it is?
Yes. What are you going to ask the court to do? The man did not forge any document. The documents were presented by the public officers. The checks were prepared by the public officers. The approval were made by them.
But if the documents they presented as having supplied certain amounts of petrol when they hadn't done that and were forged, aren't they liable?
If they forged it, you wouldn't have paid. Because you have your own document, they must fail. Government work is structured to the extent that you have various levels. They will have auditors within that must verify those claims before they are processed for payment.
But we also saw in the aftermath of that the Ministry of Finance fired 2 of its auditors. I mean,
external auditors.
External
what
auditors.
About internal auditors?
So they have internal auditors.
Auditing. They will have all these offices that all this process will go through, and they never checked. What I'm saying is that we must do another probe.
Another probe?
Yes, that of the officials.
In other words, when people argue that, well, Nigeria, we've just turned it to some kind of issue of probes upon probes without getting to the end of any other one.
What I'm saying is this,
now you're calling for another probe.
If you gave somebody an order to supply X number of liters, and you're not giving him document indicating that he has supplied, and you signed, who signed that document?
Have you seen the subsidy probe report
Yes.
as released? And
Yes.
you don't think that enough of public officials were indicted in that report?
We have not seen their names. They didn't write their names there. They didn't indicate their responsibilities. They didn't indicate where they erred, what they ought to have done, and they didn't do well. They didn't indicate so.
But offices where even if officials specifically weren't mentioned, where offices mentioned, say the office of...
Somebody signed and put his name there. Before any payment is made, it's a process. Before you receive goods, you have documents that you must complete, and those documents will be signed.
We also remember the government official who was said to have signed 999.9 million naira, is it about 100 times within 24 hours?
That is the person that is culpable. That is the person that we owe us a duty to protect our nation. It's not the marketer.
But his name was in the report.
Then they should prosecute him first. Those are the people, to my mind, that are more culpable than the marketers.
No, it comes to mind that, for instance, an assassin or an armed robber, you getting to put the bulk of the blame on the man who sold the weapon to him. That is what you're trying to bring from this whole logic. How logical it is. The man who has gone ahead to kill someone, you're saying that first we should go and arrest the man who sold the gun to him. But the supposed people who pilfered the nation, are some of the marketers mentioned in that particular document.
Yes. Who gave them the documents? Who signed the documents for them?
But shouldn't we first go ahead with the prosecution? Are you now saying that the report is not credible?
It's credible to the extent of accounting. But in terms of process and procedure and culpability, to my mind, it's not credible.
Let's talk about the bribery allegation now, proper. Now, because